Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 203 for the 8th of September 2012. Richard Saunders here with you from a very overcast and windy, strong winds, gale-forced winds, gusty winds, Sydney, Australia. On this week's show, well, more about Shuzi. Now, you might remember on episode 200, in fact, I read out a report that I wrote for Australian Skeptics about our adventures with the Shuzi band, the Shuzi Chi or Shuzi QI, one of these magic wristbands you strap on your wrist and gives you more balance, strength, flexibility, mental power, and unclumps your blood, apparently. Now, at the same time I was chasing Shuzi in this country for the story and hopefully to test, which they didn't do, our colleagues in the UK, the Merseyside Skeptics Society. And don't forget to listen to Skeptics with a K, their podcast. They were also trying to get Shuzi in the UK to come up and be tested. But surprise, surprise, Shuzi have not stepped up to be tested, to put their magical wristband to a simple test. So, the Merseyside Skeptics went ahead and tested the band anyway. So to kick off this week's show, Michael Marshall from the Merseyside Skeptics will read the press release accompanying their video. And this has gone viral, and the news has gone viral. I'm so happy. Lots of news agencies around the world are covering the fact that the Merseyside Skeptics put Shuzi to a test. And ironically, even here in Australia it made the news, which is ironic because in the press release they quote the work by Australian Skeptics. So there you go. Who cares? Who cares? Shuzi, where are you? Come and be tested. No? All right. That story coming up. After that, it's back to TAM Las Vegas. Now, I said on last week's show we might have Brian Dunning or Ben Radford. I've decided to put on an interview with Eran Segev instead. Our very own Eran Segev, president of Australian Skeptics and the occasional grain of salt right here on the Skeptic Zone. Now, Eran has some news for us about his presidency of Australian Skeptics. So that's a bit of a scoop for the Skeptic Zone podcast. Coming up, another TAM interview by Maynard. Then to wrap up the show, I interview Ben and Steve Makin all the way from Edinburgh, who were just visiting Sydney the other day and spoke at our Sydney Skeptics in the pub all about alternative medicine and their adventures in investigating and even trying alternative medicine. So I have a nice chat with them in the Hyde Park, which is the big park in the centre of Sydney, about Edinburgh and what they get up to there and a little bit about their talk. And then we catch up after the talk. Maynard interviews Ben Makin about what she thinks about Skeptics in the pub and how the talk went. And then another newcomer to Skeptics in the pub. Now, before we start the show, a few little messages. Visit www.skeptics.com.au for a number of reasons. But if you live in Sydney, the Skeptics dinner meeting is coming up at the end of September the 29th. More details at the website. Now, our friends in Canberra tell me that there's an interesting public lecture coming up. The Wather's Guide to the Periodic Table. This sounds a good one for budding scientists out there. You can find out more about that lecture coming up on the 14th of September in the ACT at the Australian National University by visiting billboard.anu.edu.au and clicking the calendar link and scrolling down to the 14th of September. Also from Canberra, I've heard word that there's a newly formed University of Canberra Skeptical Society. And well, they're very nice. They've invited me down for a barbecue. I think I better take them up on that offer sometime. A barbecue, eh? That sounds pretty good. To find out more, best thing to do is simply Google University of Canberra Skeptical Society. They do have a Facebook presence. And one last thing before we get into the Skeptic Zone, the James Randi Educational Foundation on their online magazine Swift have published my account of the recent $1 Million Challenge at TAM 2012. TAM 10, TAM in Las Vegas, where I helped take part in testing one Andrew Needles and his Dynactive SR power band. You can read my report and see the video now online at randy.org. Thank you to everybody who was involved with that too. And now it's time for me to run downstairs, bypass the fridge entirely, open the pantry, get out the ingredients for lentil soup, cook that, and enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
Sport wristband claims nonsensical techno-babble, says consumer rights group. Sports performance technology manufacturers Shuzi came under fire today after product tests revealed their performance-enhancing wristband to be ineffective. The £60 wristband, sported by Dancing on Ice star Jennifer Ellison on the ITV show earlier in the year, is claimed to contain a proprietary chip programmed to resonate with blood cells' natural frequencies, causing blood cells to separate and unclump, claims which have been dismissed as meaningless techno-babble by the Merseyside Skeptics Society. In a video released today, the group enlisted a semi-professional rugby player to pit the real Shuzi band against an identical deactivated band. Despite marketing claims that the product aids a player's performance, the demonstration showed that when a player is unsure which band he's wearing, the £60 product makes no discernible difference. Michael Marshall, Vice President of the Merseyside Skeptics Society, explained, "If the claims Shuzi make about their product are true, we'd expect to see a marked improvement in the performance of our athlete when wearing the real band. That there was no clear difference suggests to us what we've suspected all along. The bands are little more than an expensive sports fad, backed up by a raft of claims which may sound like science, but are actually nonsensical techno-babble." During the test, the player took 50 kicks wearing the Shuzi flat black sports bracelet and 50 wearing an identical bracelet with the chip removed. Throughout the test, neither the player nor the testers knew which band was which in order to ensure accuracy and remove bias. After 100 kicks, the results showed no significant difference between the sham band and the real band, casting severe doubts over the company's claims that the chip stimulates the separation of blood cells in a person's body, which can help increase blood cell circulation. The video comes in the wake of consumer action in Australia, where Shuzi's products have been challenged, resulting in the company withdrawing their trade from the country. After an investigation by the Australian Skeptics, Shuzi were offered $100,000 to prove their product worked, a challenge they initially accepted before later backtracking. The latest test was carried out by the Merseyside Skeptics Society after attempts to work with Shuzi directly stalled. "We originally approached Shuzi in June, voicing our concerns. At first, they seemed keen to offer us proof that their products were anything more than another expensive sports fad," said Marshall. "When Shuzi stopped returning our emails and calls, we decided to test their bracelet for ourselves, and it's fair to say the results didn't surprise us too much. If Shuzi still believed their product really works, we'd love to see their evidence, and I'd certainly be happy to work with them in conducting another test. Otherwise, consumers should be aware that these products simply don't live up to the marketing hype."
Yeah, right, guys. I was talking to Richard Saunders the other day.
All right.
He said if we record a trailer for our podcast, Skeptics with a K, he'd play it on their show.
Well, that's nice of him. That's very generous.
It's pretty good. I'm not sure what we could do, though. I mean...
Well, I suppose you tell people what the show's about.
But it's basically just this.
Yeah, but... Yeah, we talk about science and skepticism and things.
That's true. I suppose you mentioned the website address.
What, Merseyside
Yeah, or just like search us on iTunes. Oh, and then we could end with like a big song like The Skeptics with a K podcast.
No. Don't do that.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Well, we're in the back room now, and I tell you what, all the back room things are here, which means nothing. Basically, the room's pretty much empty. Like my head, I've been talking to so many people here at TAM, but not this guy here. Who we got here?
Hi.
It's Eran. He's here, and he's wearing his pink shirt. Is this some sort of in celebration of something?
Celebrating the fact that the pink shirt was at the top of the pile.
Now look, and as you can tell, I've made an effort with my wardrobe here. Most of you skeptics have just been wearing the same thing every day, day in, day out, even Dr. Raichi. But me, I've 3 outfits a day.
And I must admit, I got this on because I got tired of wearing shirts that look like like I'm in college. I'm a bit too old for that, I suppose, for T-shirts with slogans on them.
Yes, but there have been some good slogans here. Have you seen some T-shirts or some slogans? Hey, that's a good one.
I like the ones that have some science on them. There's a T-shirt that's quite well known that shows the graph of what's predicted, whether background radiation from the Big Bang, where that's supposed to be, and it shows what the prediction was and where it actually is, and under it says science, it works, bitches, which is great. And there's now a similar one for the Higgs boson, where it was predicted to be, and it shows the graph of where it actually is. So I like these kind of shirts. I haven't seen any particularly funny ones this time. But
look, I like all the photos of Carl Sagan on the shirts too. They're looking pretty cool.
Yeah, I would like those. But again, photos and things, I would probably not go for that.
Now, you were very inspired by the keynote talk yesterday.
I thought, I'm not sure it was keynote.
Jamie Ian Swiss?
Yeah, Jamie Ian Swiss. I thought his talk, I came out of the room and I said, this is the best talk I've heard at TAM. That's 4 TAMs now, 3 in Vegas and 1 in Australia. And then after a few minutes, when thinking about it even more, I thought, no, this is actually the best talk about skepticism I've ever heard. It was a combination of insightful, passionate, enthusiastic, clever. It was just inspiring. There's no other way to describe it. I hope they'll I spoke to DJ, and I hope they'll put it online very, very soon, because I think people need to see it. People within the skeptical movement need to see it.
Because it addressed a lot of the issues, because this has been a controversial TAM in some ways, but for lots of different reasons. There was the Rebecca issue, but there's also been different issues with libertarians and different issues with various types of atheists and secular humanists, which I don't understand. I don't quite get all the differences that are going on there. And he was pulling them all together and saying that, yes, they're allies, but don't come into the skeptical movement and try and change the skeptical movement.
Yeah, and he used a very nice analogy where he basically said, I'm happy to invite you into my tent, and I'm happy to accommodate your beliefs within my tent, even if they're different from mine, but don't come into my tent and declare you're moving it. And I thought that was very strong. And look, my impression was that he was referring to, feminism is really important, and fighting sexism is very important. I think that's the thing he was mostly referring to, but I don't think it was the only thing he was referring to. Okay, so I think that's very important.
So I think there were other political issues going on that I'm not aware of. Yeah,
but I think that's probably because that's the primary one. And I think he was probably referring to that. What I think he was trying to say is, don't make that the core issue of the skeptical movement, because it isn't. But he also referred to atheist stuff and secular humanist stuff and in rationalists, and he basically said, there is a reason why I'm a capital S skeptic, and that's actually a term that I use quite a lot, capital S skeptic, as opposed to just skeptic with a small s, because I think that it's that passion for the idea and all that, and discuss the fact that skepticism is an idea and a process rather than a position, and I completely agree with him. And what he said was, atheism, for example, said, I'm an atheist. He says, I'm an atheist with an attitude. Again, I could very easily agree with him on that. I'm also an atheist with an attitude, except I'm not an atheist in the sense that I'm not a capital A atheist. I don't feel a need to be active around my atheism. Plus, I think it's just one thing out of a lot of things that skepticism has to offer, and that skepticism encompasses atheism in a sense, because what atheism is skepticism about one specific thing. Whereas he believes that skepticism should be about everything, and I completely agree with him on that.
And also he drew on, I believe, some of his Southern Baptist upbringing, or he's had some religion in his life, because the way he was, or he's been to a couple of religious meetings, that's for sure, because the way he was firing it up towards the end, and he really dumped it on Bill Maher too.
Yeah, well, I agree with him on that as well. I think Bill Maher, I can't bear to watch Bill Maher because he's an atheist and he's very funny. And especially when he talks about religion, it's obviously very funny to somebody who's an atheist, he's like on our side. But he's a crackpot. He's a crackpot in every other way. And I don't think that we should embrace somebody because he agrees with us on that narrow sliver of an idea to say, yes, he's one of us. No, I don't think he's one of us. I don't consider him to be a role model for me or for anyone else that I talk to, and I think he's a crackpot. He's definitely not part of the skeptical movement, despite being an atheist. And I think Steve Novell actually said that about him a long time ago in one of the podcasts. He said that he's an atheist for the wrong reasons. And you know how you say it's a common saying that you can't reason somebody out of the position that they didn't reason themselves into in the first place. And I am quite sure that Bill Maher did not reason himself into atheism. He did not think about the evidence for God and perhaps the evidence against God and don't weigh that. He just feels that that there is no God. And similarly, he feels that vaccines are dangerous, and he feels all kinds of other crackpot stuff. So I don't care what he believes. I don't care if he agrees. You know what? I actually don't care if he agrees with me on everything. If he agrees with me for the wrong reasons, then he's not part of my. Just in the words of Jamie Ian Swiss, he's not welcome in my tent. No, it's because skepticism is not a position. It is a process. And if he doesn't follow the process, then he's not part of the movement.
I think this is part of the problem that the movement has, is that getting across that it's part of a process, because a lot of people don't want to take part in that process because it requires hard work, or they perceive it's hard work.
It is hard work. That's why I like it. Seriously, I don't know many things in life that are really fun, really rewarding, really give you something in the long term that are not hard work.
Which is the opposite of what we're bombarded with each day.
Yeah, but again, small wins are fine. Small little things, you have ice cream, it's great and all that, but would you live for ice cream? I mean, maybe that was a bad example, but
well, the guy from Ben and Jerry's actually probably died because of ice cream. Yeah. One half of them, yeah.
No, but my point is that anything really, if you want to do, first, okay, maybe I should probably say, maybe not everybody needs a cause in their life or something big to walk towards, and that's fine. I believe that for me and for a lot of people around me, to have something that they're passionate about, something that they believe in, and it doesn't have to be a big idea. It can be family, your family. It could be just reading great books. It doesn't have to be something like a big social cause, okay? But to have something that you do that rewards you not just in that very instant when you do something, I think that's really important. I think that's it's a richer life. You have a richer life if you have something like that in your life where you look at it beyond the immediate present.
And apart from Jamie Ian Swiss's talk, is there something that's enriched your enjoyment of the Skeptics movement here this weekend?
Well, being in this kind of event, it always makes me feel really good. Just in terms of meeting so many people, and I participated in the workshop, and I gave a paper presentation this morning, and
what was your paper about, and how was it received?
My paper was about the whole Ken Harvey affair, where he was sued, and we helped him cover the costs of the lawsuit. Because despite winning, he was awarded costs, but the company went bankrupt and did not pay him his legal costs. So we organized a donation drive, and lots of people donated. So we were not the ones donating the money, but we arranged the pledge drive and covered his costs. So that was what the talk was about, in essence. The reaction to the talk, you see, when you stand on stage, you hardly see the audience.
Oh, yeah.
But... the lights in your eyes, it's dark out there.
Maybe afterwards someone might have come up to you or something. So
there's two things. First of all, I heard the response from the audience, and that seemed to be good. I mean, they I expected, obviously, some applause at the end, but there were a couple of places along the way where the achievements were applauded rather than my talk, and I thought that was really good. But I've had, since then, probably, I would say 10 or 12 people already approached me just to shake my hand and thank me for both for the talk and for what we've done with Ken. And you know what? It's just... This is it. That's enough for 6 months of hard work. Seriously, it's just having that appreciation, knowing that people pay. You know, we don't do it for that. Okay, we do it because we think it's important to help Ken, or it's important to fight the anti-vaxxers and all that. But you do need that acknowledgement. Anybody who says that they don't need that acknowledgement is lying. And you know, there's some people obviously who are more in the public eye and all that than me. But and I'm usually happy to do things more in the background, but I'd be lying if I would say that it's not. You know, it's great. It's fuel for a long time.
Do you think you sometimes feel a bit more isolated in Australia because of our physical distance and the environment we're in there?
No.
Like scientifically at all?
No. We have great contacts with skeptics in the UK and in the US in particular, but in other countries as well. I think they know what we do.
Well, certainly people have come up to the table and they seem to think that the Australians have a more grassroots approach, and we're doing things that many skeptic groups elsewhere in the world aren't doing.
I think we have a good reputation in the skeptical movement as punching above our weight and getting things done. And it's something that I don't know that it's actually true that we do more. Perhaps we just do things in a different way that has more impact, or perhaps because they don't hear about things where we fail. It doesn't happen a lot, but surely sometimes we try to do things and we fail, and they don't hear it here. Whether here they see both the failures and the successes. I think sometimes something that's further away, you tend to have a different view of it than the objective view. So it's quite possible that their view is a little bit skewed. But you know what? It doesn't really matter. That's the reputation we have, and it's a great reputation to have. I'm very pleased with that. I think part of the perhaps problem, it's not a huge problem, but I think too much credit is given to the organization, whereas a lot of the activities are done by individuals that are either affiliated with the organization or not. And they could be supported by us, they could like us and all that, but they're actually doing their own thing. Ken MacLeod is obviously a prime example. He does a huge amount of work, and he's a member of the Skeptics. He's a subscriber to the magazine, but he's not working on our behalf, and he gets help from us from time to time, but he's definitely not, part of the organization in any meaningful way. And we, and for somebody looking from afar, it looks like, we're getting credit. I think we're getting credit for his work because he seems to be working with us.
And Richard Saunders is going to be involved in a $1 million challenge that's going on here later today, I believe. Is that true?
Yes. The challenger actually approached Richard because of his work on the power balance bracelets. So despite the fact that the challenger is actually in the US, Richard is the one who was approached, and it's a great item to test. It's a really good one.
And very brave of him to come to the JREF conference and put
But it happens at every TAM.
Oh, okay.
So it's happened. I'm not sure every time, but it's happened several times before where there was a public $1 million challenge, because the thing is that these people who come here believe that they can really do it. People who don't really believe it, who know that what they're doing is a scam or whatever, they won't be tested. People who make money out of it generally won't be tested because they don't want to be proven wrong. Whereas, this is a guy who's quite clearly maybe deluded if it doesn't work, if it turns out that it doesn't work. And I have a hunch on that.
But see, it's a win-win, because if it doesn't work, it'll prove, that science is ready. If it for some reason does work, that means we've discovered a new physical property that could, we're all in for a Nobel Prize. I know I'll be putting my hand up just for being in the room.
It's absolutely true, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
And as our Prime Minister used to say during the last election campaign, so moving forward, what do you think will be happening over the next couple of months, given the inspiration you've gotten out of TAM? Has it inspired you to because you're also starting a new job, so personally you've got a very challenging period coming up. Yeah,
look, I've been the president now for just over 3 years. Started in June of 2009, and we'll have our AGM in September. And I don't know. I don't think I will be continuing past that point. I think 3 years is long enough. So I will continue to be active within the committee and all that, but probably not as president. So we'll see. I don't know yet. As you mentioned, I've started a new job. It's very hard work. It's so hard, actually, this new job, that I've worked Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I went to the US to TAM.
Now, that guy was here earlier in the week. Where's the new guy?
So yeah, obviously they knew about this trip in advance, but I want to. It's a good professional move for me, and I want to make sure that it works for me for long term, not just for a short time. So I want to dedicate myself to that. And, at different periods in your life, you want to spend more or less time on specific things. And while I'm happy to continue to be active within the skeptical movement, there's specific things that we'll probably continue to do. The role of president requires a significant amount of my time. It's at a minimum, we're talking about 3-4 hours a week. That's the bare minimum on very, very quiet weeks. And I need those hours now perhaps for other things. So I don't think I will be continuing. I haven't fully officially decided yet. And, the reality is that even if I don't decide, I could be voted out. But my inclination at this stage is not to stand again. So I don't know yet. I don't know. I'll continue to be active within the movement and within the committee. So I'll still be around.
Look, and I want to thank people in the movement and listeners to the Skeptic Zone for putting in to get me here. And I just hope I've given enough back. I hope there's enough interviews coming out here. I've seen you a couple of times, but you've been doing special backroom skeptic stuff while you've been here. I guess that's part of being my job. I've been the distraction of the week to everyone else while you and Richard and Rachie get on with some deals going on there.
Yeah, well, I think considering the fact that, this is now today, it's the 15th of July, 2012, and because of the amount of interviews you did, this is being played sometime in 2014.
And because I'm flying back to Australia via Seoul, probably, I probably won't get back there till then, I'd say. I'm going to be in my 60s by the time I get back home.
Is that a bad thing? Or you're looking back to getting back to work? Looking forward to getting back to work.
Look, thank you for your time. And what's your final message to the people here? Like the people that haven't been to TAM before, people out there listening to this going, gee, I wonder what kind of went on there. How would you describe it, just briefly?
It's the greatest social gathering of skeptics in the world. And, they're great talks. There were some really fantastic talks and panels, and I've really enjoyed them. But in the end, from my perspective, the thing that makes this kind of conference into the amazing thing that it is, and it's not because the amazing meeting, it was amazing even if it weren't called that, is the social interaction. Having so many skeptics in the room at the same time, all talking to each other, feeding off each other, telling each other stories and jokes, and drinking and eating and going to the pool, and just hanging out with people who I would almost say that you just feel comfortable. You know that these people understand the kind of things that you talk about. The challenges of the skeptical movement are similar in different countries. And to be able to share all of that is really fantastic.
You don't want to be with like-minded people all the time. That would just be not good for your personality. But occasionally, I can see everyone here, it's good to be with people that are on the same page.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with you. You don't want... An echo chamber is the worst thing you can have for a skeptic. You do not want people who say yes to each other all the time. But one of the things I really like about the skeptical movement is that it's never, even in a meeting like this, it's not an echo chamber. It is, there are disagreements. People air them. People actually talk about them openly and freely. And it's not considered rude because that's part of being a skeptic. And we see that all the time, actually, for example, within the committee. I can't count. I've been in the committee now for about 10 years, and I couldn't possibly count the number of times that we have really serious disagreements, and then we go and have a drink together and work on things that we agree on. It's just having a disagreement within the skeptical movement is not an indictable offense. It's part of being a skeptic, and I find that very, very good. I think that's what it's all about.
Well, Eran, let's go have a drink.
Okay, let's drink.
mate.
The Skeptic Magazine, the journal from Australian Skeptics. Subscribe online to the world's second oldest skeptical magazine. Visit www.skeptics.com.au and click the publications link. You can also find there over 30 years of back issues free to download. The Skeptic, the magazine from Australian Skeptics. There's nothing like authentic noise, listeners, and that dog barking in the background might give you a clue that we're in the middle of this park, but we're in the middle of the park, in the middle of Sydney, Hyde Park. It's sort of just turning into rush hour. There are buses going about, taxis, but it's a beautiful day. It was a warm, hot, sunny day for this time of year. I'm with Ben and Steve Makin, all the way from one of my favourite cities in the world.
We're from Edinburgh.
She's jumping the gun there, Edinburgh. And as my listeners may well remember, I was very lucky. I visited Edinburgh earlier this year, and in fact I spoke at your Skeptics in the pub, which was such a thrill. Wow, did I enjoy that. But I love Edinburgh. Edinburgh's a great place. So first of all, what brings you to the middle of Sydney?
Well, I'm a researcher in stroke medicine, and I was lucky enough to win a prize at the UK Stroke Forum last year, and the prize was to present at the Australasian Stroke Forum 2012, which is in Sydney this year. And we thought, what if one of us gets a plane ticket paid for, the other one had better come for a holiday.
So that's exactly why we came here.
What a good thinking.
So, absolutely. So we're here for a visit. We are visiting Sydney, and we're also taking the opportunity to go up to Cairns and Queensland.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so
stunningly beautiful place in the world. Absolutely, and I'm not getting paid by the Queensland Tourist Board. Now, we'll get to what you're going to be doing here in Sydney for us tonight, this very night at the Sydney Skeptics in the pub soon. But just before we made our way to this park, we were having a little bit of a chat about all the wonderful things that the Skeptics get up to in Edinburgh. And I just wish I could fly there every other week. Mm-hmm. It's just all the things you get up to there.
Well, we're very, very fortunate with Edinburgh because with Edinburgh it is the festival city. We have the International Festival, we have the Fringe, which I think everyone
very famous.
Thinks of Edinburgh for, and we also have a science festival. So as well as our monthly Skeptics in the Pub talks, we also put on talks and events during the Fringe, so which has just finished. It ran through August, and we had 21 talks. We had
21 talks.
21 talks.
Oh, wow.
Different talks by different people.
Not the same talk 21 times.
No. We also had Ash Price, who's the founder of Edinburgh Skeptics, put on...
Ash Price. I had the pleasure of interviewing Ash a couple of months back.
Yeah. So he did his psychic con man shows.
And how to talk to the dead.
Yes.
And get them to talk back, which is a difficult bit. And how to predict the future. Mm-hmm. And how to be a psychic con man.
Yeah.
Which
so that was
Ash. And he also did one of our 2 walking tours that we did. He did the Ghost Busted tour.
Ghost Busted.
Yes. Edinburgh trades on being the most haunted city in Europe or having the most creative tourist industry, depending on how you look at it. And there's a huge industry of ghost tours that take gullible people round dark and supposedly haunted locations, frighten them and get them to pretend they've had an experience. And Ash takes you round the same locations and tells you the truth about the ghosts. which isn't as popular, sadly.
So what is it about Scotland? You're sort of cornering the market here on strange things. I mean, you may know I do a show for schools, for school kids, varying ages, and it never fails. All the years I've been doing this show, no matter how young the kids are, I say, who's heard of the Loch Ness Monster? All the kids have. After all these years, it's just amazing.
Well, one of our talks at the thing was by Charles Paxton, and he trained as a zoologist, I think. Still is a zoologist. But he's got a very nice little sideline in research that he does for fun, which is about Nessie, is about the Loch Ness Monster. And he looks at the sightings of the Loch Ness Monster and how many of them there have been and how far away and so on and so on. Now, the thing that was really nice about this for us, putting on Edinburgh Skeptics and Skeptics on the Fringe, was that Charles has managed to get himself sponsored. He's sponsored, you could say, kind of by a drug company.
Yes.
Big pharma, huh?
Not quite.
Not quite.
Small rum.
Yeah, Kraken rum.
Oh, I see.
Which is very nice rum. And we haven't managed to find a retail outlet yet.
On the monster, sea monster
What's
theme.
the name of that rum?
Kraken rum. Kraken, I think.
Try it today. You might
If
get
you
some
can
now.
find it.
Kraken.
Oh, sounds good.
We're not paid by them.
No.
But if they happen to send us a bottle...
So Charles came to speak for us for Skeptics on the Fringe. We've just had a really, really, really great festival.
What is it about Edinburgh? I mean, when I was there, I certainly... the response I received at Skeptics in the Pub was great. It was a big turnout, and I thought to myself, this is a city that really likes interesting things, you know?
It is. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
We've got a really active local humanist group who sponsored our Fringe,
us,
which
was
we're really grateful
immensely
for.
generous and very, very kind of them.
Yeah,
And it enable us to bring some much bigger names.
Yeah,
so we're very grateful to the humanists for that. What it is about Edinburgh, I don't know.
Is it because it's smallish city?
It was the start of it. Well, it was the city where the Enlightenment tap started. If you ask the right people.
Yeah.
And it's got it's got a number of universities.
Yes.
It's quite a small city,
Yes.
and there's a lot of people there who are interested in a lot of things, and a lot of people there who are curious.
And in many respects, it is a capital city. We do have we've got the Scottish Parliament there.
You do, lovely Parliament.
Yeah,
yes.
so we do have people who might otherwise gravitate to other cities either stay in Edinburgh or gravitate to Edinburgh itself. So there just is a lot going on. And I really do think that the fact that we've got the festivals there really helps as well. It keeps the momentum.
Tell me, have they fixed Princess Street up yet?
No.
No.
Still a mess?
Yeah.
Still a mess.
And we still don't have any trams.
No.
Folks, they're building trams, and when I was there earlier in the year, it was like a construction site. It was just awful, and I thought, well, they must be nearly finished.
No.
The trams have been going on for 4 years. They are actually, if you cite it, you're more likely to cite Nessie.
Inside the tram.
That's very good. I like that.
Thank you.
Remember that one, folks. That was very good.
And they keep closing down roads without any warning. So you're driving along going, this road doesn't work anymore. How else can I get to?
Now, it was a pleasure, as I said, to visit Edinburgh, despite the trams workings and not being finished. And I really, sincerely did enjoy giving my talk, which was about general skepticism, to Skeptics in the Pub, as a local skateboarder goes by. And which brings me to the topic of tonight, because you're speaking at our Skeptics in the Pub.
We are indeed.
Yeah. Tell me all about that.
Well, we are doing a joint talk on alternative medicine, entitled Where is the Harm? And the reason for this is that Steve, as a doctor, knows, well...
reasonable about medicine.
Yes, and
I hope so.
And I know a rather worrying amount about alt, because I suffer from migraines. And
join the club.
Yeah. And one of the things with migraines is that a lot of people will say that they can treat them or can help with them. And over the years I've tried a short list of about 31 different things we have on our list.
Really? Well, they're just showing me the list now. I don't doubt it, because as my listeners know who do unfortunately suffer from migraines, when you're in the grip of one, it's like, well, I don't care. What are you going to... I just want this to stop, It's debilitating.
And also I think that a lot of the debate around alt-med can be very, very polarised, and it's very easy to think that people that are using alternative or complementary medicine are sort of dumb, and it's also very easy to think that the people that work in that area are deliberate charlatans.
Yes, it's too black and white, isn't it?
Yeah. And my feeling very strongly is it's a lot more nuanced than that. So we look at some of those things. It's a fun talk.
Yeah, we look at the things you've tried, and then we look at why they may have seemed to work at the time, and then we briefly look at what's the harm, which is usually fairly obvious. And I think most people in Australia would be aware of the Penelope Dingle case.
I'm certainly yes. The homeopathy is a terrible case, terrible.
So is Steve and Ben have a domestic on stage?
No, it's reliving our first few dates. Our first few dates, which consist of you saying, but I've tried this and it helped, and I'm going, well, no, and culminating with suggesting some effective treatments.
So now the migraines are under control with triptans and aspirin and beta blockers. So.
Right. I guess I'm lucky in a way, because a very common over-the-counter drug here, paracetamol. That usually at least dumbs it down. That's not the right term.
Takes the edge off.
Takes the edge off, and I can sort of operate. It's still sort of hanging on. But normally I just have to wait till it goes.
I mean that's very much been my experience as well. So
if paracetamol doesn't work for you, and you have to take some others.
No, the thing that's galling for me is that the normal dose of aspirin is
300.
600.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
300 for stroke.
I'm sure she knows.
Yeah. And what do you know? You're a doctor. Hey.
Well, then I said you should be taking then with the study showing that 900 was actually the most effective dose for migraine.
Yeah. So which I could have been taking all the time. 20 years I could have been taking aspirin and didn't know.
Well, I'm sure there are migraines and there are migraines. They must be all individual beasts depending on the individual person.
Yeah, I think that's probably true and fair. I'm very, very much of the opinion that a lot of the topics that are of interest to skeptics are much more nuanced than we give them credit for, particularly when we're in the company of other skeptics, because when we're in the company of other skeptics we can end up talking in a shorthand amongst ourselves.
Yes.
One of the things that I want to do with this talk is just to say, well, it's, in the words of Ben Goldacre, it's a little bit more complicated than that.
I like that expression he's come up with, and it's absolutely so true. It's so true, and indeed we were on our stroll here to the park, we were chatting about the media, and I can tell you, for the media's sake, they need things to be black and white quite a lot of the time. So when you introduce something like, well, it's a little bit more complicated than that, they'll say, we're not interested. Are there ghosts? Yes or no? Can you debunk it? Yes or no? Sort of attitude.
So that's really what we're trying to do with the talk.
That's great. And I notice you've been giving this talk in other locations too, of course.
Yes, we're on a bit of a tour. We've started off in Cork Skeptics, who have Skeptics in the Castle, and they have an amazing group there. That was in July.
And the Irish guys are really good and really interesting, because they've obviously they've got their own circumstances in Ireland, with a sort of very strong Catholic Church that they're sort of slowly moving away from. We didn't give the talk in Skeptics in the Pub in Dublin, mainly because Skeptics in the Pub in Dublin for a long time has been just skeptics drinking in the pub in Dublin.
I'm shocked.
Which is great. I mean, that's awesome. So we've given it there. We've obviously given it to our own group in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And then now here we are.
Wow, taking it around the world.
Yes.
And we can have a big shout out to our friends at the Skepticorns podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. The Skepticorns.
Yes, that's the Skeptics.
Of
that's
course,
the Irish.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
And corn.
They're all this high in me, all right.
Couldn't possibly endorse. Anyway, no, these Cork Skeptics are a really great group. We've known Colm, who runs them, for quite a long time because we initially met him on Douglas Adams' the H2G2 website in 1999.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I met him a long time ago.
Before he was well, I was, but before you were Skeptics.
Before I was Skeptic. Well, no, I've always been critical in my thinking.
Yes, just not effectively.
They're doing the act already, folks. That they're warming up as we speak. Well, I'm really looking forward to tonight's talk. I'm sure all the people who come to Sydney Skeptics in the pub are going to enjoy it immensely. Are you going to take it anywhere else, maybe?
Well,
if anyone wants to invite us, that would be great.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, definitely open for invitations. Very happy, obviously, to do it anywhere in the UK, and very happy whenever we go on our travels.
To try and find another Skeptics group.
Yes.
Well, I haven't heard it, haven't seen it, but I can sincerely recommend it, folks. If you're having a Skeptics convention or a conference, just look at the show notes for this episode to find out more. Well, Ben and Steve, what a pleasure it is to see you here in sunny Sydney. Beautiful day.
Yeah.
Gorgeous day.
A huge climate shock for us. We're having come off one of the longest, coldest, wettest, most horrible summers in Edinburgh to see sunshine.
Yeah.
Great
We
climate
had about
shock.
a week of sunshine in Edinburgh this year.
Yes.
A week.
Yeah. Actually, that was probably a day, to be honest.
And that was in
March.
April. Yeah.
May.
Tell me something. Have either of you been to Loch Ness?
Yes, we have.
There's no
but we
monster.
didn't see the monster. No,
There's
but
quite-
the nice rum up there, though.
Here's the rum again.
Ben quite likes them.
Thank you once again. And why don't we slowly make our way to the pub?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Well, hey, we've got a Scottish visitor. What's your name?
My name's Ben Makin.
And look, I heard you talk about leg waxing there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more with you. Just listen, let me fill you in. She was talking about various different ways and alternative treatments you've had, and you brought up leg waxing. And look, I've had the back crack and sack myself, and I've got to say, you do get in a very intimate relationship with your genital waxer, don't you, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. See, it happens, doesn't it?
Indeed, I do feel very strongly that leg waxers and any kind of waxers are underappreciated in terms of providing a therapeutic service and a therapeutic support, because it is, as you say, such an intimate relationship, and they need to distract you from the pain. So they ask caring, kind considerations, and it's the exact equivalent to doctors sort of saying, just a little prick with a needle, bang. So there we go.
And what did you make of our crowd here tonight? What kind of people do we get along here? Is it a fairly rough crowd? Do you think they're rum drinkers late into the night?
The Skeptics crowd here, I have to say, have been really lovely. We've done this talk in Cork and we've done it in Edinburgh. And in Edinburgh, we had a much tougher set of questions. Here, we've been very welcomed, have been made very, very friendly. We've been fed. We've been provided with drink and.
Look, I've been to the Edinburgh Festival a number of times, and the rivalry between Edinburgh and Glasgow is just amazing. But Glasgow, they fight dirty, don't they?
They do Tai Chi. I mean, they do. What can you say?
Yeah.
No, I lived in Glasgow for a while. I really like Glasgow as a city. I'm now living in Edinburgh, and that's also great. As you can tell, I'm English. I'm not Scottish. Very, very much like both cities.
They both got amazing qualities about them, but they have such a rivalry, don't they?
They do indeed.
And where are you off to here after that? And where would you like your skeptical journey to take you next? You're going around the world. You want to do a bit of Scandinavia thing, go the Arctic Circle. Where's your skepticism going to take you next?
Well, I lived in Sweden for a while and thoroughly enjoyed it there. And I have actually been above the Arctic Circle in both summer and winter, so that was good, but not particularly with a skeptic journey. In terms of a skeptic journey, where would I like to go next? Well, we're going up to Cairns, and we're going to Queensland, and then we're going back to Edinburgh, where we will buckle down for the winter and batten down the hatches.
Which is all you can really do in Edinburgh. In fact, I must remind people, if you're drinking in Edinburgh in winter, don't fall asleep outside because you will die.
Indeed, and there's no need to put ice in the drinks because they will be that cold.
Now, I see you've got some badges on a denim jacket, very early Bananarama style there. Now, I can't see any Duran or Classic Nouveau or Visage badges there. There's no new romantic badges on your jacket at all.
But I do have a Skeptic Zone podcast badge. And I also have a badge for QED, which is the conference that was put on by Merseyside Skeptics and the Skeptics in Manchester.
Yeah. Oh, and they have the hardest quiz show podcast too. That Merseyside Skeptics quiz show podcast is really hard.
They do. They do indeed. How can you answer those questions?
Well, we look forward to having you back again.
We very much look forward to being here. We have had such a great time, and we have such a warm welcome from Australian Skeptics.
Well, give my regards to Hadrian's Wall.
Oh, but of course.
And we've got a first-timer here at Skeptics in the pub. What's your name?
My name is Mikkel.
Now, what makes a merchant banker want to come along to a Skeptics night? Because there's a fair bit of woo involved in merchant banking, a lot of holding on and praying that the market goes up or whatever.
No, that's true. I think for me the biggest, the thing that pisses me off really is when you work in a bank there's a lot of regulation. There are things you can't do. You can shut down a bank if we sell people things that we lied about. But in like medicine you can make lots of claims and get away with it, at least in fake medicine.
Okay. And you heard a bit about alternative medicine here. What is that the area of woo that interests you the most, is alternative medicine?
No, I think it's just that's the area that gets me annoyed more. I think a lot of them are fun, like UFOs or ghosts. That's more like a funny thing. That's the sort of thing we all want to be true. Yeah. But it isn't.
and how did you find out about it here? You're a Skeptic Zone listener. How did you find out about the whole scene?
When I came to Australia, I started searching for podcasts, and I found scientific podcasts. So, like a lot of other people, I listened to STU first, and they talk about the Skeptic Zone, and that's where I got into it. And I thought, it's like living in Sydney, this is my local podcast, and this is well, not my localist pub, but it's quite close. So.
Yeah. Oh well, look, we did have a problem with the PA, as you heard tonight. It was crowded. We had to sit at the back, didn't we?
But yeah, no, it was a really good presentation, though.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Now, just as someone who's come in the room for the first time and seen all the Skeptics here, is there a certain type? I mean, there's not as many beards as you expected, was there?
No, I did think there would be lots of anime T-shirts and beards.
Oh, hang on. I've got the periodic table on my T-shirt.
Well, that's more like Science Geek T-shirt. Yeah, that's perfect.
And have you into any other Skeptics podcasts? What else have you discovered? You said the Skeptics Guide to the Universe, Skeptic Zone, into Monster Talk. And what about the ones that are the other side, like Mysterious Universe, that sort of thing?
I know that would be the right thing to do, but I haven't got the patience. So I stay with the scientific-based ones, or the medicine ones, like Quackcast.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, Quackcast is great. Yeah. Particularly when he's out on his front porch and you can hear his dog barking.
No, I really like his podcast, and it seems like very well researched as well.
That's Mark Crispin, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look, thanks for coming along. I hope we can see you at another Skeptics meeting in the near future.
Oh, definitely.
I'm Eugenie Scott, Executive Director of the National Center for Science Education in Oakland, California. We defend and support the teaching of evolution and climate change when it comes under attack for religious and political reasons. We help teachers, parents, school boards, and other citizens defend good science in the schools. Come visit us at ncsc.com and on YouTube and Facebook, and let us know if science comes under attack in your community. We're here to help.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone, and a big thank you to Eran Segev, who, as you heard, is stepping down as president of the Australian Skeptics. That's the New South Wales Australian Skeptics in New South Wales, because there are other Australian Skeptics groups around the country. This is the New South Wales one. What a great job he's done over the last 3 or 4 years. Introduced many good initiatives and has been helping us fight the armies of darkness. Now, who said the armies of darkness? Was it Isaac Asimov or something like that? That's what I like doing, folks. That's what the Australian Skeptics like doing, is fighting the baddies. Or as our friends from the Merseyside Skeptics put it so well, consumer protection. I like that. Don't know if you can hear in the background, but that wind's picking up. I'm going to better run outside and batten down the hatches for next week's show. And coming up on next week's show, maybe I will have those interviews with Ben Radford and Brian Dunning. Until then, thank you once again for listening, and thank you to those people who chip in with $1 a week. Helps keep the show going. No joke, it really does help to keep the show going. In fact, I'm using some of that money right now. I'm about to purchase video editing software to help me make the Vaccination Chronicles, this ongoing project. I hope that's going to be finished in a couple of months. That should just about see it out. I'm filming more about that tomorrow, in fact. Now, I can't afford the top-line video editing software. It costs over $1,000. Never mind, but I am getting something that's quite good. Can let me do some high-definition work, and I'm looking forward to that. So, thank you for those people who do contribute. And until next week's show, this is Richard Saunders, signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.